Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Smackdown review. And this review is going to be on this past Tuesday's edition of Smackdown, which was the June 11th edition. And this Smackdown was from the Golden One Center in Sacramento. And just like Monday Night Raw, this Smackdown was shit. It was a garbage show. It was boring. SmackDown is just becoming Monday Night Raw 2.0 with this whole, with the wild card happening, the wild card rule. It's like SmackDown is becoming Monday Night Raw 2.0 with all this. It's absolute fucking garbage. So let's get on with this review. So SmackDown opened up with The Miz coming out for Miz TV. He ends up telling the crowd that his shirt represents his mood. And he was wearing the shirt that he was wearing was a picture of his dad with his fists up. You all remember that. And he says he has to follow the script. He introduced his guests for Miz TV. And those guests were Drew McIntyre and Shane McMahon, which at first he ended up calling the breast in the world, if you remember that. If you remember when Jericho did that in 2001 with Stephanie in the ring, where Jericho was like, "Oh, you're the breast." And if you all remember that segment that Jericho cut, it was Stephanie, Rhino, and Booker T in the ring. This was during the invasion angle. And Jericho said that, and he was on stage with The Rock. It was a funny segment from back in the day. It just reminded me, when Miz said that, it just reminded me of that. And then Miz rephrased himself, and he ended up calling Shane the pest in the world. And so then we saw Shane and McIntyre came out. Elias came out with them. And so Shane was not too happy about Miz introducing him. So Shane demanded Greg Hamilton to do his best in the world intro, which it gets fucking annoying. I'm like, do we have to hear every time Shane has to say, "Oh, give me my best in the world intro" to Mike Rome or Greg Hamilton? Come on, it's getting fucking annoying. This is like channel changing garbage. And this segment went on for like almost 25-30 minutes. I'm like, did we get enough of seeing Shane on Raw the previous night? Jeez. And, after, Greg Hamilton gave Shane his best in the world, shitty intro, Shane says he bought Elias because most good talk shows have a musical guest. And we saw Elias end up playing a few bars on his guitar. The crowd was chanting, "You suck," which I applauded them for. And Shane says he did what he said he'd do at Super Showdown. And that was beat Roman in the middle of the ring. Shane ended up saying that Roman shouldn't be ashamed of what happened. And that's okay. Because he lost to the best in the world. And so Miz said to Shane that all of his accomplishments are tainted. And that he only won one match at WWE World Cup. And he ended up saying that Shane wouldn't have been in the World Cup match, if it wasn't for him. And he says he beat the hell out of Shane at WrestleMania all through MetLife Stadium. Miz also said that he also graded Shane's face in the steel cage at Money in the Bank, and that Shane only won by slipping through his jersey. And he also ended up telling Shane that Roman physically destroyed him at Super Showdown. That is until Drew McIntyre got involved. And so Shane says they are out here for one reason, and that is for Miz to do an interview. And so McIntyre ends up, getting on the mic. He says Roman lets his emotions get the best of him, and that it will be the downfall for him at Stomping Grounds, or as I would call it, repeat grounds, because it's nothing but rematches that we saw from like Super Showdown and others. It's gonna be rematch galore at Stomping Grounds. And from what I heard, Stomping Grounds isn't doing that well in ticket sales. I wonder why. So McIntyre says when he hurts people, he enjoys it. He has no remorse, no pity, and that he loves it. McIntyre says he has a weapon that nobody else has, and that is the Claymore. He goes on to say that at Stomping Grounds, he's going to kick Roman's head off. So Miz says to McIntyre that he truly is one man that can match Roman, and that his potential is being wasted on Shane. Miz says to McIntyre that helping Shane will get him nowhere, and that Shane will use him, and Shane will stab him in the back. And Miz ends up calling Shane a talentless hack. And Shane says Miz shares DNA with a baked potato, which he was referencing Miz's father. And so McIntyre and Miz stare down at each other. And Shane says there's a little something left here, and maybe he wants another shot at the best in the world. And he was like, why not do it right here, right now? So Shane ends up giving Miz the match, but on two conditions. Miz has to beat Elias, and then Miz has to beat McIntyre. And that's how the segment ended. But garbage opening to SmackDown. Fucking shit. It was garbage. So then after that we had the match. The Miz versus Elias. This match lasted maybe like 5 minutes. It was boring. Garbage. Miz won with the skull-crushing finale on Elias. Elias was going for a elbow drop. Miz got out of the way. And that's how Miz ended up hitting Elias with the skull-crushing finale. That basically was it. Then after that, Drew McIntyre just ran into the ring. They had their match, Drew McIntyre and The Miz, which maybe lasted for like 7 minutes top. Drew McIntyre laid out The Miz with the Claymore kick. Drew McIntyre wins. Then after the match, Shane says him and Miz should have his match now. Should have the match now. So then we just saw Shane just punching The Miz, with those horrible like punches that Shane always throws. And then Miz got back up, started taking down Shane. And at the end, Shane ended up winning. Triangle choke on The Miz. That was basically it. Boring. Then we saw Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose backstage. Amber Moon was there. Sonya and Mandy were giving Amber Moon a copy of Mandy Rose's magazine, The Muscle and Fitness, hers, which they did 2 weeks ago. We already saw this 2 weeks ago. I don't know why they did it again. So, so they give Amber magazines for her to read. So Amber ends up getting pissed, and she ends up throwing the trash can in anger. That's what it basically was. But looks like we're going to get a sort of like a match maybe between Amber Moon and Mandy Rose. And then we had Daniel Bryan and Rowan come out. Daniel Bryan got on the mic, and he ended up saying to the crowd, the Sacramento crowd, that we are in for a real treat because the Planet's Tag Team Champions are putting their titles on the line against the YOLO County Tag Team Champions, who are named AJ Kirsh and Dave Dutra, I think that's how you pronounce the last name, in a title unification match. And these jobbers were just holding a paper cutout that said YOLO County Tag Team Championship. It's garbage. It was garbage. This looked like somebody created it in WWE 2K. That's what it basically was. I'm like, is this really happening? Sorry about that, but I was saying, is this really happening with these YOLO County Tag Team Champion guys? And you had the crowd chanting YOLO, YOLO. Like, what? And then we had Heavy Machinery. Ostosovic, Tucker Knight, they came out. They complain about how Rowan and Daniel Bryan are ducking their challenge and pledging to win the titles if they get a chance. And Daniel Bryan says to the both of them that they haven't earned it, and they offer them a match against the guys, AJ Kirsh and David Dutra, the YOLO County Tag Team Champions. Oh, something that makes sense. What Daniel Bryan said. Heavy Machinery, they haven't earned an opportunity to face them for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. So, but yeah, then we had Heavy Machinery versus AJ Kirsh, David Dutra. This was a short match. This was a squash match, jobber, match with AJ and Dave. Heavy Machinery laid them out with the compactor. Pretty much that was basically it. But squash match. Moving on. So then we saw Carmella and R-Truth backstage. R-Truth recounts, the last few days of, with the 24/7 championship, the Ninja Turtle, Jobber Ninja Turtle title. He explains that to Carmella. He ends up calling the 24/7 championship the 7-Eleven title. And he says the title is ruining his life and that he can't let it go. So we see a door open. Carmella ends up telling R-Truth to hide in a case. And we see a crew member, and the crew member tells Carmella that her match is next. And she realizes that she locked R-Truth in the case. And she won't be able to get him out because her match was happening. And so R-Truth is just banging in the case, say, Carmella, Carmella. So she ends up leaving. Carmella ends up leaving. Jinder Mahal comes, and he hears R-Truth freaking out inside the case. So Jinder Mahal is just doing a very shitty, bad female voice, and he tries to reassure Truth that he's going to get help. That was basically it. Then we had Sonya Deville versus Carmella. Very boring match. Sonya Deville won the match with the knee strike to Carmella. That was basically it. It was boring. And moving on. It's like nothing really happened on this show. Nothing. So then after Sonya Deville versus Carmella, Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross was shown in the locker room. Alexa ends up telling Nikki that she's saying Bayley is saying all these hurtful stuff, and she wanted to show it to Nikki, but she couldn't because Alexa blocked Bayley on Twitter. You saw there was an article stating that Alexa blocked Bayley on Twitter. And she says, but when she looks out across the ring at Bayley, she wants Nikki to see all the bullies that have hurt her and not hold back. So that was basically what happened in the locker room between Alexa and Nikki. And we had Nikki versus Bayley later on in the night. So that was that. Then we had the New Day come out. This was to welcome back Big E. Because Big E had that injury that happened where somebody took him out backstage when he returned. And so Big E says he's back again. And the way things are going, if he had, a title reign for every return, he'd be Charlotte. Which, that was funny. That was jokingly to WWE creative. And Kofi ends up pointing out, that as a booking joke. And Xavier Woods ends up moving on, and he wants to talk up the match tonight, and he wants to end it quickly so he can get back to E3, which E3 happened this week. Didn't get a chance to check it out, but I know that there's a new Xbox that was announced that's coming in. That's coming next year during the holidays next year. The Cyberpunk game, which Keanu Reeves is going to be in, which I'm looking forward to. So I saw little clips. I didn't watch the whole conference for Microsoft. I was busy. So Xavier ends up mentioning that. He says they're up against Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and Dolph Ziggler. He says all of whom are men that Kofi has beaten on his own. And Kofi ends up pledging to retain the title at Stomping Grounds. So Dolph Ziggler came out. He says he put Kofi on a pedestal and told the world he had earned everything he got and that he betrayed him. Dolph calls Kofi a coward and says there's only one reason he still has his title. So he ends up running the footage of when Xavier ended up helping Kofi retain. He says at Stomping Grounds, there'll be nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, no one to save him when they're locked inside of a steel cage. He says then the world will know what Dolph has known all along. And without all his network support, his support networks. in which Kofi could never beat him. So Kofi says to Dolph, Dolph forgot to show him kicking Xavier in the face. So he was going to retaliate. Then out came Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Sami says they can't stand injustice. And that's what's happening here. And says, that tells them we don't care about justice. We have no morals, no ethical code. All that matters to us is who we like and who we don't like. And Big E says they hardly enjoyed seeing Seth Rollins wear Sami Zayn's narrow behind, out with a chair. And Sami says this is more hypocrisy because if anyone else had been outside referee, people have been fired. But instead, and he says the crowd were a bunch of cheering hypocrites. And he says the biggest hypocrite is Kofi, the WWE champion. And Big E ends up taking offense to that. He calls Kofi a man who will walk through fire to show that he's the best at what he does. And so Kofi ends up taking, the issue with the notion that he took the coward's way out. So he's going to kick ass and take Dolph Ziggler's name at Stomping Grounds in order to remain the WWE champion. So that was the segment. So, but it was meh. Then we had Kayla Braxton. She was interviewing Bayley backstage. Bayley says if Nikki Cross wants to get caught up in social media shenanigans, so be it. She says, but her victory over Alexa will be a moment she won't forget. So, little interview with Bayley, and then she made her way out for her match with Nikki Cross. Then when SmackDown came back from the commercial, we had an Aleister Black promo. Of course, Aleister Black has been cutting these promos. So he was talking about how the roster sees so much conflict and so little resolution. And he says, still, no one is at his door to fight. And they don't have to fight over things like the love of another man or woman or ideologies or turf. He asks that a door be opened. And with the light shining in his face, he yells that it's wide open. And that he begs someone to pick a fight. So, it was decent from Aleister, but please get him back in the ring. I don't know why WWE keeps making him cut these promos. He hasn't been in the ring since the shake-up. Or before the shake-up. When he was still tag teaming with Ricochet. So then we have Bayley versus Nikki Cross. Bayley ended up getting the win. She did the flying elbow drop to Nikki Cross. That was basically it. Bayley ended up winning the match. And Nikki Cross, she didn't come out to her regular, style music that she has. She came out to Alexa Bliss's theme. Which, oh my God. I don't know what to say. I really don't. WWE, to me, they're already ruining Nikki Cross for me. They stripped her of that craziness, that psychotic craziness that she had in NXT. It's unbelievable. Then we saw Jinder Mahal, a referee, and they had a crowbar. They were looking for the case that R-Truth was locked in. Some crew member tells Jinder that it's loaded on a truck. And so Jinder, of course, another crew member who says they got the case sent to L.A. because Raw is going to be in L.A. This Monday. And as they leave, we hear R-Truth, screaming from inside one of the cases, and the cases was on a forklift. So R-Truth was still in it as it pulled away. Then Kayla Braxton, she ended up interviewing Apollo Crews about his match last week. And he says he's not here as an afterthought. And first opportunity he gets, which then he gets interrupted by Zelina Vega. Zelina Vega comes up and she ends up telling Apollo that if she were him, she would not provoke Andrade, or he'll make sure he never has a match again. So Zelina leaves. Apollo Crew turns around and he sees Chad Gable. Chad Gable was taking notes. Chad Gable had a new look. He got a haircut. And at first, I didn't know who it was because I'm so used to Chad Gable, seeing him with the long hair. But you end up getting a haircut, so that was that. So I guess we're gonna have another rematch with Apollo and Andrade coming up soon. Then we had the main event, 6-man tag team match. Of course, another 6-man tag. Another 6-man tag. Like we never get tired of 6-man tags. So it was New Day, Kofi, Xavier, and Big E versus Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Dolph Ziggler. The match itself, it was meh at best. New Day won the match. Kofi ended up hitting the Trouble in Paradise on Dolph Ziggler to score the win. So New Day ended up winning. And that was SmackDown. Boring show. Garbage. It was Monday Night Raw 2.0. And that was it. So anyways, that's it for my review of this past Tuesday's edition of SmackDown. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. And definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And until next video, which will be a movie review, because I did get a chance to see Men in Black International today. So there will be a review on that. So until that video, I'll see you all later.